Hey friends, what's up? It's Abby, and today I'm going to be going over some tips on how to thrive while living alone. I've been living alone for almost a year now, which seems bizarre to me. It doesn't seem like it's been quite that long in many ways, but then in other ways it feels like it's been that long. I don't know, it's just crazy how time works sometimes. But I do feel like I've learned quite a few things. So today I'll just be going over whether or not you should be living alone and some factors on making those decisions, the pros and cons of living alone, and then also just some general life advice and tips for living solo. One big thing to think about is budget. For me, I had just gotten a full-time job and it was all work from home, so that enabled me to be able to afford living by myself, but it really does up the cost a lot when you are by yourself because you're paying your full rent, which is normally pricier. Well, it's almost always pricier than splitting with other people depending where you're living, but it's just pricier because then you have to pay your own utilities and you aren't splitting any other things like toilet paper or dish soap or any of those things with anyone else. All of those are your responsibility. Secondly, what is your reasoning and have you made a pros and cons list? It can be easy to just feel like you're in a poor living situation. Maybe it's your roommates, maybe it's the space, and you just want to be like, okay, I want to just live by myself. That's the best thing. But would it be better for you to just move in and find a different space or different roommates? Because those two factors can really make a huge difference without having to just make the large shift of living by yourself, just because there is a lot of added responsibility by living alone. So maybe you go down to one roommate instead of living completely by yourself at first. But for me, again, my reasoning was just working from home, and then I also knew that I had wanted to try living alone at least for a year. And lastly, what are your goals and what are your current relationships? If you maybe just moved to a brand new place and you don't have any friends or community yet, living alone can be really isolating. Maybe just keeping that in mind if you have a harder time making friends anyways, that living alone doesn't necessarily cultivate that community like living with roommates does. And then what are your goals? Do you want to buy a house so you're living alone and you're building up this asset for yourself? Or are you just renting a place and you just want to try having your own space to see how you like it? I think it can be helpful to just kind of have a goal in mind when you're making any large decision. Most obviously is you have the ultimate freedom to do whatever you want, whenever you want, and you don't have to take care of anyone else or be responsible for anyone else. Like, you can do your dishes whenever you want, you can do your laundry whenever you want, which I feel like can both be a pro and a con, but for right now we're just sticking with the pro of that aspect of just like having the thermostat at whatever temperature you want, taking a shower whenever you want, making a huge meal and leaving the kitchen kind of messy. Those are all things you don't have to worry about if you're just living by yourself. You also get ample alone time, so you can go out and socialize as much as you want, but then you can come home and you don't have to be socially on all the time. You can just be alone and be home with no interruptions, so you can play music, you can record a video, you can do whatever you want without having to worry about being in someone else's time or having someone else interrupt you. Another pro is that you're forced to become more independent. Living by yourself really makes you more aware of yourself and makes you more aware of all the little tasks that are up to you to do. So whether that is cleaning your apartment, doing the dishes, making sure there's someone to take care of your plant babies when you go away, making sure someone will just check in on your apartment every once in a while if you're gone. When you're alone, you are forced to pay the bills and do things that are just, I don't know, forcing you to be more independent. One thing I've really liked that was kind of unexpected was being able to watch my waste down to a T. Right now, I have a trash can and I just keep refilling it with a plastic bag, and I haven't bought trash bags. So that's been kind of cool, and just seeing what different products can last me how long, because yeah, it's just me using them for the most part. Security and accountability. I had friends who I'm grateful for that at the beginning of the year were like, Abby, don't be telling people that you live by yourself, because you are now living by yourself and there's no one else to be there for you if something happens, or I don't know, just it's probably safer to just not let anyone know unless you really trust them or they're your friends. And on that same level, like when you're leaving the house, make sure to turn off all the things and triple check yourself and give a spare key to someone else, because or at least have a spare key somewhere where you know, because again, all of those security and accountability things are just on you when you're living alone. It happens to all of us, but I think when you're living by yourself and you have more time to just be introspective and kind of can be a hermit whenever you want to be a hermit, you can be more prone to feeling lonely, especially if you're not doing a lot outside of your home or you're working from home. So just be aware that that could be a thing that is more prevalent when you're by yourself. And as a pro-con, you're not going to have people asking you to hang out, asking you to share meals, learning from other people. Those are all things that I have really enjoyed in the past from different roommates that have been really great. And I feel like I've learned a lot from the people that I've lived with. So firstly, now you're by yourself. So you will have to figure out how to cook for yourself and how much to make, because I think in the past when I've cooked, whenever I've had leftovers, it's easy to just give it to my roommates. The freezer has really been a good friend of mine this past season, especially with soups and different things that freeze better than others. Even just buy different cleaning supplies and just life stuff like that will change as you're just solo. Getting to know your neighbors sooner than later is probably a good idea. When I think about this, I think about when you get on a plane and you don't say hi to the person sitting next to you, but then halfway through the flight, you're like, I kind of wish I would have said hi, or like, I would like to say hi now. And then you like nudge them if they have earphones on. Don't give me too much hate for that, because sometimes I do that. That's so much more awkward than just initiating the conversation as soon as you're on. Wrapping that back up into neighbors. You never know how helpful they could be, or they might turn into your friends, or they might have cute dogs that you can hug and take on little walks and that stuff. So neighbors are nice most of the time. Be safe. I think it can be nice to let people know your whereabouts and at least have your homies that know where you are. So if something is weird, they can kind of keep track of that. And then also maybe just having a friend have a spare key or know your door code, something like that, so there's someone else that can help you out if you're stuck or just like need some help. It also wouldn't be a bad idea to have pepper spray or take a self-defense class or just something like that that makes you feel safer. For my final tip, it is to be aware of stuff. We're going to use that as a generic term, because previously, if you've lived with your parents or other roommates, you're going to notice when you're by yourself that there are things that you need. So maybe you should make a list of all the things that you need to buy that you don't already own, and see what friends you can borrow stuff from or buy things off of from friends that are cheaper than just buying them brand new. You don't need to have your space be perfect, because it probably, if you're similar to me, will be like this pressure to fill this blank space. But it's your first time living alone. Your situation might change later on. And also don't forget about Facebook Marketplace, because it's there for you to make sure that you can get things thrifted, very sustainable of you, and for cheaper prices. All in all, I like to say I can do anything for a month and most anything for a year. So if you're curious, maybe you give it a try. If you have the financial means, why not try it out for a year? If you really hate it, then you can know that in a year you will switch. But if you love it, then who knows what hobbies you might pick up when you have more free and alone time and all the things that could come out of that. Personally, I've been watching a lot more K-dramas and playing Guitar Hero again, and it's been great. And very lastly, I just want to say, take all these things into consideration, but also just be introspective and realize what can be really good for someone else won't necessarily be good for you. And yeah, sometimes that does just take trial and error, but realize you don't need to compare yourself to what's best for another person. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked, please make sure to thumbs up and subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments down below. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye! 너와 있을 때 I swear 제가 먼저 zero 폭설한 그 chill day 꿈에도
doesn't do it 나만 빼고 넌 모두에게 참 친절해 배신감이 들어 단판이 돼도 머릿속을 흔드는 ibuprofen 그만해